For over 2,000 years, Christians have carried their faith through fire, chains, and blood. Today, over 380 million believers face persecution, making Christianity the most targeted faith globally, according to Ecclesia United International. And keep in mind, there's about 2 billion Christians worldwide, but 380 million are facing persecution, and all 2 billion can eventually face persecution wherever there is no freedom of speech or wherever there is violence. Churches burn in Africa, pastors languish in Asian prisons, and communities hide underground for confessing Christ. Why has a faith rooted in love, forgiveness, and charity been met with relentless violence? From Rome's arenas to today's war zones, persecution has been Christianity's shadow. Yet, Tertullian declared, "The blood of the martyrs is the seed of the church." Persecution doesn't destroy this faith, it strengthens it. This is a story of endurance, from Roman lions to medieval stakes, from totalitarian regimes to modern terror. Christianity not only survived, but shaped civilizations. As Charlie Kirk notes, John Adams said the Constitution was written for a moral and religious people, inadequate for any other. America's founding, built on biblical principles, reflects this legacy of faith forged in suffering. But Christianity also calls believers to shape their nations. As Charlie Kirk argues, citing Jeremiah 29:7, "Demand the welfare of the nation you're in, for your welfare is tied to it." From Moses to Esther, biblical figures engaged politically to uphold justice. This documentary traces Christian persecution across history, revealing a faith that endures and transforms the entire world. In the shadow of Rome's empire, where unity demanded worship of Caesar, Christians stood defiant. Their refusal to bow, seen as treason, sparked brutal persecution. In 64 AD, Nero blamed Christians for Rome's Great Fire, as Tacitus records. Believers were torn by dogs, crucified, and burned as torches to light Nero's gardens. For 2 centuries, Christians faced arenas like the Colosseum, where crowds cheered their deaths. Yet their courage inspired. Each execution meant to crush, spread the faith instead. People saw believers sing hymns while facing lions, forgiving their killers. That could even be seen in modern times with those facing persecution all throughout the world, singing hymns, but yet in the greatest fire and trial of all. That's where we get a lot of the great hymns that we have today. In 203 AD, Perpetua, a young noblewoman in Carthage, penned a prison diary of heavenly visions. She and her servant Felicity faced death with dignity, their story spreading hope. Pliny the Younger, a Roman governor, wrote to Trajan in 112 AD, puzzled by Christians' moral lives and a refusal to worship Rome's gods, he executed them anyway. By the 3rd century, Christianity thrived despite illegality from slaves to soldiers. Persecution couldn't stop it. In 313 AD, Constantine's Edict of Milan legalized the faith, and the church emerged from catacombs. Rome's arenas meant to destroy birthed a faith defined by sacrifice. As Rome fell, Christendom rose, but persecution persisted. The 7th century rise of Islam pressured Christians in North Africa and the Middle East. Once thriving communities faced taxes, restrictions, and violence, shrinking over time. Tragically, Christians also turned on each other. Inquisition starting in the 12th century hunted heretics like Waldenesians, who preached in common tongues through torture and execution. The Crusades aimed at Muslim powers also targeted Jews and Eastern Christians, like the 1204 sacking of Christian Constantinople. Power corrupted the church, as Augustine's idea of corrosive truth fueled bloodshed. Yet voices like John Wycliffe and Jane Huss demanded reform, preaching Scripture's accessibility. Huss, burned in 1415, declared Christ's truth would endure. These struggles exposed corruption, but sowed seeds for reform, proving faith could outlast even internal betrayal. The Reformation ignited new persecution. Martin Luther's challenge to the Catholic Church brought excommunication. William Tyndale, translating the Bible into English, was strangled and burned in 1536. Catholics and Protestants clashed violently. The 1572 St. Bartholomew's Day massacre killed thousands of Huguenots. The 30 Years' War from 1618 to 1648 left millions dead. Amid this, Christians sought freedom. Early American colonists, fleeing persecution, built a nation on biblical principles. Charlie Kirk notes, 13 of 13 original state constitutions required a declaration of faith. 55 of 56 declaration signers were Bible-believing Christians. Leviticus 19's call for blind justice and New Testament equality shaped America's ideals. Kirk adds, citing Jeremiah 29:7, that believers like Moses, who wrote Deuteronomy as a governmental blueprint, showed Christianity's call to shape nations justly. John Adams warned the Constitution suited only a moral, religious people. This era showed faith's resilience, forging liberty from suffering. Totalitarian regimes saw Christianity as a threat. Stalin's Soviet Union killed off churches, exiled priests to gulags, and banned worship. Believers prayed in secret, risking death. In China, the Cultural Revolution from 1966 to 1976 burned Bibles and forced Christians into re-education camps, yet underground churches grew. Nazi Germany targeted resistors like Dietrich Bonhoeffer, a confessing church pastor hanged in 1945 opposing Hitler. His faith stood firm. These regimes sought to erase Christianity, but believers' defiance, praying, hiding, enduring, proved faith's unbreakable spirit. Today, persecution surges. Ecclesia United International reports 380 million Christians face violence or oppression in 2024. Extremists like ISIS fuel atrocities like the Kassandra massacre and Congo church attacks, leaving believers dead amid ruins. Governments join in. North Korea's labor camps punish Bible ownership. China's surveillance jails pastors like Wang Yi, sentenced to 9 years for preaching. The ERLC lists these nations as persecution epicenters. This isn't history, it's now. The blood of martyrs still seeds the church, but silence aids their suffering. Christians must act in the name of Jesus. For 2,000 years, Christians have faced the cross, literal and figurative. From Perpetua's calm in the arena to Bonhoeffer's defiance, from Congo's martyrs to today's hidden churches, their faith endures. Charlie Kirk reminds us Christ called us to be salt and light, changing our environment that we reside in. In 1 Timothy, Paul urges prayer for leaders to make just decisions, echoing Moses and Esther's care for their nations. This history shows persecution can't kill Christianity. It reveals its strength. The same way they tried to kill Christ, it was the weakness that they thought would bring about the following of Christ, whereas it was the strength and the exact pillar that built up the church. As Charlie Kirk says, the Bible is political, calling us to shape nations for justice. Let's honor the martyrs and ensure the cross endures, that Christ's name reigns forever, and it will, no matter what humans here on earth do. But if we are called to be Christians, we are to live out this walk, obey Christ and his commands, and honor his word by preaching his word to all nations.
I am found, was blind, but now I see. 'Twas grace that taught